Greetings, everyone. Here we are at the end of 2024, just about to step into a new year. So I thought it was time to do a little bit of an update because there are some changes on the horizons. First things first, there's a cheat sheet down in the video details below. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, if there's only one thing you want to hear about, you can go down there and see the timestamp mark and skip ahead. Because you may not want to hear all of this, but I am going to try to go through it really quickly. I have 4 things that I want to share with you. All of them are very important, but I'm going to try and not make this update any longer than it has to be. First things first, I want to start out by just offering a very sincere thank you for everybody who has supported my work over the past year and over the past years on Patreon, on YouTube, on Instagram, whether you are contributing financially or contributing by leaving comments or likes or sending me emails and asking questions or sharing your experiences with me. All of that means more to me than I can ever explain. Going back even just a few years, I can't ever imagine things would have gone this way and I would be on this side of the camera, chatting with you guys like this. So it really has been just such a magical journey, and I owe all of it to you guys. So thank you so much. With that, let's get into our 4 bits of news for the new year. The first thing is for folks who are engaged on Patreon, whether it's my Patreon or anybody's Patreon, the question always is, how much are the tiers going to increase in price this year, right? Because a lot of patron creators raise their prices every year. Got to do that to keep up with the times and all of that. So before I share my price change information with you, I want to give you first a little bit of an overview of the content that's on Patreon right now and how much is in that library and how much is available, and also give you a look at how many people are there, which is very cool. Again, it's shocking to me that this many people are willing to listen to me ramble on about the plants and folklore and all of that. So thank you. These are stats that I'm very proud of, and I think that anyone who's engaged at all should be proud of them too. We're creating a cool little community. So with that, a quick reminder, Tier 1 is $3 per month. So if you appreciate the work that I do, if you watch my Friday classes, if you get anything out of it, you can contribute and support my work for $3 a month. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot. I think that's why most people don't do it for any creators, but it adds up. So Tier 1, $3 a month. And with that, you get the audio only version of all the Friday classes. So you can listen to them like a podcast, or listen to them at the gym or whatever, which is cool. Tier 2 is $9 per month. That gives you access to our monthly advanced class. So you get like a nice $20 to $50 value workshop every single month for contributing consistently for $9. And then the third tier costs $18 per month, and that gives you access to everything I do. All of the courses, all of the classes, the advanced classes, the audio only, our monthly plant spirit journeys, behind the scenes, book club, community chat, all kinds of other random cool things that we do. You don't have to take all of it. You can just see everything that goes up, and you have access to whatever piques your interest. So that's really cool. I do have a bit more information about tiers, which is the 4th part of our news today. So stick around for that. So tier price changes for 2025. There won't be any. I have actually never raised the prices or changed the prices of my Patreon for 4 years since I started my Patreon, and I'm not going to do it this year. The reason is because I think that for me, if I see, people struggling, or I see that I personally am not making any more money this year than I made last year, it doesn't make sense for me to assume other people are as well and that people can throw more into the pot. So I want to keep the tiers exactly as they are, to try to keep them accessible as possible. And rather than raising the price on things, hope that we can just bring more people who are on that free level in at the $3 level, and everybody pitching in a little bit adds up to a lot bit, right? So that's very cool. So that's the big news part one. No price changes. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully this work continues to stay interesting and accessible to you, and all of that. Part two is our plant spirit journeys. We will be continuing them. I've taken a couple months off to kind of regroup, catch my breath, kind of figure out a little bit of change that I want to do. It's not going to be anything massive for folks that have been doing plant spirit journeys with me for a while. You'll see some additional cool stuff in the journeys coming, but we will continue on doing our monthly plant spirit journeys. We sit for one lunar cycle, every lunar cycle with a different plant, learning directly from that plant, studying folklore, magic, medicine, clinical trials, all kinds of stuff about the plant, creating personal heart-to-heart relationships with these plants in the way of our ancestors. And the thing that is news about that, other than that we're going to keep doing it, is that every plant we sit with for 2025 is going to be from the Lamiaceae family. We're going to do an entire year of mint family plants. And the reason is I want to bring this back home, right? Mint family plants are the easiest to grow and garden in a pot, on a windowsill, in a raised bed, whatever you have, you can grow mint family plants. They are the easiest to identify and the ones you can most confidently identify. They are the most forgiving to work with in teas and incenses and oils and tinctures. They are the most pleasurable herbs to work with. They're the ones that smell good and taste good. And I think if we can spend a year together really getting back to these plants that show up for us, that are easier to communicate with. You hear me talk about mint family being the chatty plants, right? You're about to find out why. We have done some mint family plant sits already, but this whole year is going to be mint family plant sits. So making it accessible, making it plants that you can go out and touch, right, in real life, hopefully. So that's our news part two, and that will begin in January 2025 with our first plant spirit sit of the year will be a mint family plant. Yeah, to be decided, right? The next thing, and this is probably the biggest piece of news that I have, my content is about to change a little bit. This is going to happen on social media. This is going to happen with what I'm sharing on YouTube. This is what I'm going to be doing on Patreon. And I'm aware that this change, has been over a year in the works, working through classes that I wanted to put out, kind of getting through that list. I'm aware that these changes might not flip everybody's switches. There might be some content that some people aren't as into as they've been into other things that I've talked about, and I'm totally okay with that. My hope is that there will be other people who really like it, and it all evens out in the end of the day. So the change is that first and foremost, we're going to be focusing pretty much all of the classes and all of the content on wort cunning, on our cultivation of being herb-wise, of understanding the deep secrets, the mysteries of the plants, their magic, their medicine, their stories, through the lens of what has been handed down to us through the ancestral traditions that I mostly work with, right? So this is where I might lose some people. But look, we've talked about this before. You can learn about plants, plant spirit work, the plant spirit path from anybody, from any tradition and any culture to deepen and nourish your own without appropriation and without necessarily needing to sign up for that tradition, right? Like everything we hear about plants adds to our work with the plants because it's all examples of the plants speaking to us as humans, right? So that's important. So moving forward, 2025, most of my material is going to be rooted in Northern and Western European plant lore, especially coming from the extant materia medica and herbals that we have from what we would call the pagan traditions, right? And really, we can also say heathen traditions as well, which is probably, if we asked Stephen Paulington, he would say heathen is far more appropriate word than pagan for a lot of reasons. So we will be looking at the plant lore of the Germanic pagans, the Anglo-Saxons, the English, the Welsh. We'll be getting a little bit into the British Isles stuff, of course, allowing for the Druidry wisdom to come through. There's plenty out there about the base reductionist remedial herbal information. This herb is good for this thing, whether it comes from clinical research or something else. There's plenty of that, and there's other people out there who probably do that way better than I do. My interest is in the wort cunning. It's in the working with plants as spirits, and seeing the magical and the medicinal as the same thing. So in the year ahead, we will be looking at a lot of charms, a lot of ritual, a lot of ancestral teachings about the plants, a lot of specific texts, drawing a lot from various specific texts that have survived that talk about the plants. We will be getting deeper into how plant spirit work dovetails with earth-based, earth-centered spiritual practices, mostly from, again, that part of the world. But I think everybody should be able to enjoy that, because I enjoy watching content and learning from people who are not part of the traditions I practice, right? So that's where we're going. And that's going to be really the focus for the year ahead. And I hope that is interesting to people. I really want to dig in more openly to where my material comes from, and it comes from these traditions, right? So I think that this animist, earth-centered, ancestral spiritual traditions are crucial at this time for us to reclaim the old ways, to start praying to the old gods, to start interacting with the land and with nature in the way that we always have, in a way that is reciprocal and respectful, is one of the greatest things we can do for the world right now. So I want to center that. I want to focus on it myself, and I want to invite all of you to focus on it with me, right? So see where it goes. Part 4, I will be adding a new tier. The new tier will be launching on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2024. There are 5 spots for this tier. Once those 5 spots are filled, the tier closes until somebody drops out, and then there's a spot open. This tier is tier 4. It is the apprenticeship tier. There's a lot about this. I would like for you on December 31st to go read the details to see if it's a good fit for you. But essentially what this tier includes is an hour or so every month, Zoom with me, to just talk about what you're working on. What are you studying? What are you reading? What are you working on? What kinds of medicine are you making? What plants are you connecting with? What challenges are you meeting? What personal things are you working through? We really want to do this in a traditional way, right? Mentor apprentice. So instead of trying to figure everything else out for yourself, you can bounce some ideas off of me. I can help guide you through some things, maybe help you not have to reinvent the wheel. Maybe we'll be asking as many questions of one another to try to get to solutions. That's my style. As part of that, I will be giving you tailor-made homework, things that I want you to work on, things that I feel like you need to work on, plants that I think you need to sit with, books that I think you need to read, things that I feel like you need to explore and refine, right? I will be acting as your teacher, your mentor, just like I do with the people that work with me here in Salt Lake. So it's very personal. It's very specific for people who like the way I do things and want to do things, at least part of their life, want to do things the way I do. You can do it other ways too. But this is an apprenticeship level. It just creates time for us to do some one-on-one. I'm asking that people make a 6-month commitment to it, because if you only give it a month or 2, we're not really going to get into things as deeply as we might want to, right? So we're going to give it some time, commit to 6 months. If you hate it, if you end up hating me, that's okay. You can just stop, right? You can change to a different tier or go away. All those things are okay. I'm not going to have my feelings hurt. But if you really like the way I do things and you'd like to go deeper, maybe you're in herb school and you would love some mentorship, I'm happy to help with all that stuff. There's a couple of other things that you will get in that tier as well. Because of the price, I really wanted to make it valuable and meaningful. So those details you have to go see for yourself. Again, there are 5 spots. This is an experiment, like all the things that I do. I reserve the right over time to decide it's not working. I reserve the right to reduce the number of people that I take on or to increase the number of people I take on. I also want to say that the particular pricing structure that is available right now will not last. This is not where this is not a sustainable price for me to keep this offering at, but people who get in now will be grandfathered into that price, but I can't imagine that I can maintain this price long term because it's very low for what I'm giving, right? Because I love doing this, right? But I still need to get paid. So there's that. Again, it's going to launch on December 31st. Go look at it, feel it out. Maybe now's not a right time for you. That's totally okay. Have it in the back of your head. Send me an email and say, hey, maybe in 6 months or a year, I'd like to do this. And when someone drops out, or if I decide I can add a spot, I'll let you know. Like, hey, there's a spot going to open. We can figure that out together. You'll also get priority email response from me, which the details of what that means are in the thing. So there's that. So some changes, hopefully good changes, hopefully continuing to polish and refine the way that I present this material, make it more valuable and meaningful for you, make it more accessible for everybody, and get deeper and deeper into the hearts of things. I'm always learning, always growing as a person, and I hope that that gets reflected in the material that I put out there. I never want what I do to be brittle and stagnant. I always want everything to be alive and vibrant. And I think that as we move forward into the new year with this material, this herb-wise, work-cunning, plant spirit path material based on the cosmology and the animist perspectives of the old ways, I think it's going to be really fun and really interesting. You may have noticed over the past few months that I have experimented with putting some longer form slide driven classes out as our free Friday community class. I can't do those every single week because they take me many hours of preparation, study, designing the slides, putting the material together, recording, editing. It's more hours than people think, right? But I've experimented with those long form videos to see if people would stick around, and you have. So I'll try to do a little bit more deep dives, but of course the really deep stuff happens over on Patreon, those advanced classes, where sometimes those classes are 2.5 hours long, right? It's a full workshop. Again, if you appreciate the content that I do, the Friday community classes, the memes, whatever, please consider contributing even at that tier 1, $3 a month level. It adds up. It lets me have the time and the ability to do what I do without worrying too much about the financial side of things. And it also brings you in to a sacred relationship of reciprocity, not just with me, but with all the other people that are on Patreon, right? Everyone who contributes is a contributor. They're adding something to what we're doing. And so you get pulled in to the blessings, you get pulled into the sacred reciprocity. You also get pulled into the chat room on Patreon, which is a really good time, right? There's 3 that we have, and you can chat with people, and people post photos and rituals and things they're thinking about and books, and it's very cool. You can do it on your desktop or laptop. You can also download the Patreon app, which is what I use. And just like a text message, you get a little ding every time somebody puts something cool in there, right? So even for that $3 a month, you're now participating. There's reciprocity, and you're part of the ritual of things, and that's awesome. So I'm going to shut up now and send you out. I'm really wishing each and every one of you a very happy 2025 filled with peace and prosperity. We need to show up for one another, show up for ourselves, take care of each other, and hold on to the things that work and that have always worked for us, right? And so with that, again, Happy New Year. See you guys.